Hey, it's Jim Ed with the Side Hustle Heroes HQ podcast. I've got Andrew here alongside. How are you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great, man. What's happening with you, buddy?
Oh, man, all kinds of exciting stuff as always. Today we've got a very special guest, our one and only truly Andrew from the podcast. We're going to interview him a little bit about his FBA program. You've heard a little bit here and there about it.
Oh,
And yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Yeah.
I'd be honored, absolutely honored,
Awesome.
especially allowing me to do most of the talking, which is not typical on this
I know
podcast.
you do rarely get to talk on this podcast. We'll make some space for you this time. Well, what we're going to do as we always do, we're going to kick it off with our numbers. So, Andrew, put that Torchy's cup down and tell us a little bit about what your numbers were. I don't
All right.
care.
Yesterday's sales, $22.56. Not great, but better than I had, better than a couple other days. 7 days, $65, and 30 days, $532. So it's starting out to be. December was pretty rough. I don't know what the heck is going on the last couple of weeks. What's weird about this is there definitely is some drop off on the bottom of the carousel. This tool that we're using, IPX, right? IPX. Why are you going? Why are you doing that?
No, I don't think we've talked about it before. I don't.
You talking
I
about
guess
it?
it's out there. Yeah, I guess it's out there for the public to use.
Sure.
Well,
Hey, IPX is a great tool. We're going to check it out. It seems to be pretty good. It allows you to see on your storefront which products are where they are. If they're showing up, are they on top of the carousel, the bottom of the carousel? And it shows some other diagnostics. There might be some other things it's showing you as well, Jim Ed, but
yeah.
that's the main thing I was using
If
it
you
for.
click on the product, it'll show you a little bit more about
Mm.
some other things about the product as well. Very, very well done.
So check it out. It's not even an affiliate link. It's just free. So check it out. Now to your numbers, Jim Ed.
Awesome.
Hopefully, yeah.
What we've been waiting on. Yesterday, pretty good day. $190.
$190 yesterday.
$190 yesterday.
That's
Good day.
awesome.
I've been pleasantly pleased with the numbers here. Early January, I've had some pretty decent stuff. The last 7 days, 1,036. That's got me on pace for a little over 4K for the month. But I like to try. I can't expect 5K in January. I'd like to be over 5K in January, but
Last 30 days.
last 30 days is 5,076. 3 days into January, I'm at $734. So yeah, pretty strong start.
But but we're spending a lot of time on Amazon Influencer. Obviously, those people who are listening to our podcast, that we spend a lot of time in the weeds looking at all these things. But I don't know why I say this every week, but I'm just it's just like Jim Ed, you continue just to crank these things out, and again, you're reaping what you're sowing, right? Because you have been doing a lot of videos. I'm at let's kind of say I looked at 170 videos right now, and then how many you got up now?
765.
765, yeah. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Most of your big sellers are still the ones that are your own products for the most part. The moral of the story is to remind you guys here, if you haven't listened to that podcast, listen to the last one. Man, if you can get your hands on things that are over $100, over $500, and hopefully over $1,000, you will be really happy. Because the reason why I haven't made much money lately is because I haven't been selling those 3 or 4 or 5 expensive items. And that's the thing. The more of those you have, the higher the incidence of you getting those sales. So if you only have, it's basic math, right? If you only have 5 of them, it's probably not going to happen that often. But if you have 20 of those or 30 of those, you might have you're going to more than likely going to have some pretty big paydays. So just remember that. That's a huge thing. And Jim Ed, I really think I love that session last week because your top 20 is it's so telling. It's so telling that it was worth the time and effort to get those expensive items. And I don't know if you want to talk about, maybe it's another podcast. How are you sort of pivoting or maybe even opening up your access to these products? That's something we can talk about next week. We'll talk about on the phone a little bit, but hey guys, let's hang on there because maybe in a couple podcasts from now, Jim, you're going to have a little more details about what you've been working out here. So how's that sound? So let's plan on talking about that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, awesome. Well, congrats on awesome numbers.
And this is the thing that's so nice is going through this, analyzing it, preparing for a podcast, preparing for a class that we've got coming up this month. All of these things is just like we're learning too, obviously, as we go along. But yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that we've learned is early on, and I'm not picking on you, but you kind of had the theory of, hey, it's more about getting a bunch of items on there than it is about getting some expensive items on there. And where it's nice to have a bunch of items on there so you have kind of a base when you've sold zero expensive items.
Mhm.
We've learned that those expensive items are the drivers. I mean, they tend to be the things that are making the cash register ring and putting up the bigger numbers. So, and I mean, we've got a case study with Michael as well. Michael has, I think, about 100 videos more than you do, and he beat my numbers last month by $100 or so, 150 bucks or so.
And Michael is our buddy from our Facebook group. He's been on a couple podcasts. Just for those who are tuning in, if you're wondering, like, if you feel like you're missing out, if you have FOMO, you are missing out. You should have fear of missing out. Join our Facebook group, Side Hustle Heroes HQ. My buddy from my small group, from church, he said that one of the buzzwords that's gonna piss people off in 2024 is side hustle. So I'm sorry for those guys.
First name for that person?
John, not the
John G.
John G. Yeah,
It was John G.
Yeah, I haven't referenced. I don't know where the article, if it's an article or he saw this somewhere, if he's just kind of just joking. But he probably saw this reference. Maybe not. Who knows where he saw it? But I just think it was kind of funny that people were tired of side hustles. So unfortunately, that's the name of our podcast and our Facebook group. So if you are tired of hearing that name, I don't know what to tell you. So should we just call it SH Heroes instead? Just get rid of, like, Kentucky Fried Chicken, just call it KFC. Just doing the acronym instead of calling it side hustle. We could always do that. Hey, something else that's interesting here. The grab bag. Is this kind of like the little grab bag like on the ticket? In Dallas, there's this 1310 a ticket, 96.7, whatever. But they just talk about these random things. TikTok, man. Got some TikTok commissions coming in. Jim Ed, I told you about this, and you were like, yeah, whatever. Actually, you're pretty intrigued. And then you sent me this video of someone who's killing it on TikTok as an affiliate. This is pretty exciting stuff. I've done a couple just barely. I've had like 3 or 4 videos up, and I've already made some commissions. Don't sleep on this, guys. This is the model here. TikTok. If you have a TikTok, get a TikTok shop as well. Connect those two. Have you figured out how to do this yet, Jim Ed? How to get your TikTok shop going yet?
I think I'm about 90% of the way there.
We can talk about that in a bit. Yeah.
And at some point, we'll probably want to talk about this on the podcast in depth. But I was under the impression you had to have 1,000 followers to do this, and not. That is one way. That's one great way to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the required way of doing it.
TikTok, get a business TikTok, convert your account to business, get a TikTok shop, sign up for that, put your credentials in there, connect the two, and you should have access to the affiliate program. Now, what's the affiliate? There's Marketplace, where you have all these products that you can actually buy, but you can also become an affiliate for it. They have all the commissions. You can see how well products are selling. Another cool thing is you see a TikTok seller, you see a TikTok affiliate that's doing really well. You can look at their showcase. You can see all the products they're selling. We'll talk about this in another podcast, but this is pretty interesting. You can start, and here's the interesting thing about, and we can get to the FBA stuff. So what I've seen so far is with Amazon influencer, the higher price items are what you really want to sell. TikTok kind of says, hey, low price products are where you're at, because here's the thing. The commissions are 20%, 40% sometimes. So literally you're selling a $10 item, you're making $2 and $3 on it. You sell a $20 item, you can make $5 or $10. I just sold a stand-up desk. I made $15 commission on it. Got 10%, 15% commission. A lot higher commissions than what Amazon's paying for now, because right now the percentage TikTok's taking is very small. The commission TikTok takes, although we're talking about this yesterday, I haven't seen this pop up yet. They're increasing the percentage of the commission that they're going to be getting from sales. TikTok is, right? So that means that probably maybe the commissions might go down, but for now, it's a really good opportunity to find some products, lower price products, do some very similar to Amazon type videos, demonstrate, you can get some sales. So more to come on that, but it's a pretty exciting area, and very well be another nice second income stream for UGC. More to come on that, guys.
For sure.
Well, cool. Anything else in your mind?
No, let's go ahead and jump into the FBA. This is going to take a little bit of time because it's very interesting stuff. And there's probably some side hustle folks out there that's maybe like me that's wondered about FBA. I have talked to you, Andrew, about this quite a bit over the years. You've been
Yeah.
when did
Yeah.
you start FBA?
2014.
So 9 years in FBA, and I guess I've probably heard you talk about it, every other week for the last, you know, decade almost. So
Probably. Yeah.
almost now, but kind of messing around. But we have talked about it a lot, and Andrew's given me his numbers over the years, and I've heard them, and it's just kind of like just didn't make it didn't make sense to me as far as like it seemed like to me the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. But as people who follow the podcast know, Andrew lost his job. What? How long ago? A couple months or
In
so?
June. Yeah.
In June. Here we are in January. It's already been, dang, 6 months, huh?
Yeah.
And his thoughts were, let's go find a new job, but while we're looking, let's work on this FBA. And he's been able to scale it up to the point where I don't think he's really that interested in finding anything else. I think the FBA is feeding the family, if you will, right, Andrew?
It's helping for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, there's some other dynamics going in there. I don't know if you want to get into those or not.
It's
Some
been
stuff with your wife
it's
working a little
been
more.
growth. This year has really been last year was really the growth. Let me reinvest in the business. Now I'm sort of like, okay, this is the new year. I'm going to start taking a lot more of that money that I'm getting from Amazon and, putting that into our profit, our income. And then kind of getting, okay, let's do this and keep growing it, but I don't have to grow it as fast because I grew it so quickly that I was very cash poor, inventory heavy. But now I'm sort of getting caught up and realizing, okay, now I got some cash infused in the business because October, November, December were stellar. January so far has been really good, but fingers crossed, hopefully it'll continue. And it's just a matter of really all it's been September, October, November, December has really just been getting products, focusing on the best selling products and just keeping those in stock. And I've been blessed to have people that have been really good workers working for me, and they've been able to get a lot of packages out the door. So
Man,
it's out the door to Amazon. I'll talk about what does that mean? What does it mean packages out the door? How does that work? We'll talk about those details, like what exactly Amazon FBA is. So this is kind of FBA 101 today, just a general overview of what it is, and then what my experience has been with it, but mostly about all the different aspects, all the different ways that you can FBA.
cool, man. Well, before we really dive in and get started, Andrew, I just want to say, man, congratulations. I'm real proud of you for being able to make this work. I mean, I know this is something that a lot of guys dream about. I know you dreamed about it, and you kind of got forced into it. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's what it takes, man. But great for you for rolling up your sleeves and making it happen, man. You're a real dedicated dude. He don't sleep in till 9 o'clock because he's don't have a job to report to. He still gets up early and works the program, man. So congratulations, man. That's good on you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
Absolutely. So FBA, we're gonna go like, what is it? How's it work? It's
Yeah.
fulfilled by Amazon. I mean, that part we know, but kind of what is it? How does it work, Andrew?
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, FBA is really there's two components to so Amazon in a nutshell. When you talk about resell, it's simply taking stuff, buying something at a store, buying a book, buying just whatever that item is, and you're reselling on Amazon for a profit, hopefully, right? So FBA really is what's cool about FBA is you don't have to ship that individual item that you sell. Like with eBay, you sell an item on eBay. I sold this bottle. You box and ship it one on one to that customer, right? That's sort of the really the old school method of resale. Amazon back, this is many years ago, probably 20 years ago at this point, said, don't worry about doing that. You ship your stuff to us. You ship all your products that you want to sell to us. You got listings. You have a Amazon. You have a listing. You go ahead and say, I'm going to ship 10 items, 10 bottles, right, to Amazon. We're going to keep those items in our warehouse. And then when it sells, we'll take care of the shipping. We'll ship it to customers. We're going to charge you a fee, but you're going to, you know your numbers. You'll know before you send it to us how much money you're making. So, you send the bottle, say the bottle costs $20 or costs $10, you get it for $10. You sell it on Amazon for $20. really easy math. You make the sale, Amazon keeps $5. You get the other $5, you've made your money. You get your $5, Amazon gets their $5. Basic, it doesn't work exactly at the numbers. That's the basic.
About what is the percentage, Andrew?
So what is it? 20%? Or is it 15, 20% is what Amazon takes. And then they also have, so there's a commission that's built in. And then you also have the picking and packing, all that they charge, right? So if you can fulfill yourself if you want to, right? So if you do that, they're going to charge you just that commission, kind of like what eBay sells, right? eBay will charge you a commission just for selling on their platform. So Amazon will do that, and then but the FBA part of it is they're going to say, well, there are some fees, especially the longer you have an item in their warehouse. Ideally, you want to get it so quickly that you don't even get charged a monthly fee. If you can turn things quick enough, you're only paying the picking and packing fee, which is basically them getting your item, taking it. It's part of that is the warehouse is them checking the item in, getting it ready, and shipping out to a customer. That's the picking and packing, I think is what it's called, the fee there. So that's another fee.
If you do FBM would be fulfilled by merchant, you would be shipping that out.
Right. And you only would get the commission fee, and you wouldn't be paying the picking and packing fee, obviously.
Any idea how much the picking and packing fee is?
It's another part of that. It depends on the item. So it's based on how large the item is.
Okay.
So the commission is definitely based on the price point. The picking and packing is based on mostly how large the item is and how much it weighs. Now, if you have a heavy item that's small, that's cheaper than a heavy item that's big, right? If you have a light item that's small, that's perfect, right? So I don't want to get into all these numbers, but the good thing about Amazon is they're very transparent with their fees. And there's tools that let you know before you buy. And that's the most important thing. If you're going to do this, you need to know your numbers. And if you want to get started today with Amazon, just get the seller app, the Amazon seller app. That's available. There's plugins you can use as well that will help you. Like when you go online, when you're on the Amazon website, you're going to see all the numbers you want to. But the Amazon seller app is the best place to start if you want to get an idea for how much items cost.
Hey, being that you're my administrative assistant, would you mind putting that in the show notes too?
Of course.
Thanks, buddy.
Seller app. And actually, yeah, so I looked this up real quick. So it's 15% commission is what Amazon charges, right? So if you sell an item for $100, you're going to be charged $15 on that item, okay? So that's the way it works. And then the picking and packing is variable based on how large the item is. And
yeah, so if you've got an $80, if you got a product you're buying for $80 and you want to sell it for $100, not only you're not going to make any money, you're probably going to lose money on that, right?
Exactly. And a lot of times too, you can't ship a product as cheaply to a customer as Amazon does. So FBA in a lot of cases, it's actually cheaper to use them to ship, because I was doing first class shipping and you can do pretty well with that. But some items that are sort of like over a couple pounds, man, it's hard to beat Amazon on some of those items because they do in volume.
Yeah.
So a lot of volume there. So that's something to keep in mind there. Okay. So in general, I remember when I first started selling, I was really confused, like how this even works. Like, you ship something to Amazon, but how do they even know what the product is and who you are? Well, obviously you have a seller account. And what I've seen with seller accounts, it's not like Amazon Influencer where it's really hard to get in. In general, if you're in the United States, especially, you just need to give them some credentials. There are some hoops to jump through, but it's not likely they're going to say, no, you can't sell. You just basically need to make sure that you have a driver's license, give them social security information, you have an address here. If you're not in the United States, it might be a little more tricky, but those living here for sure, you just need to be patient and fill out the information. And I've never seen someone who couldn't get in. And so that's not a big deal. So the barrier to entry is very low. It's very easy to get in. So what does that mean? There's a lot of competition, right? So then the way it works in a nutshell is, there's a lot of different ways to source products, but let's just do a simple example. You're in a Walmart, you see a bottle of Gator. Let's just do toothpaste. You see some toothpaste, and you can look that item up and say, oh yeah, this toothpaste is selling on Amazon. Okay, great. Usually what's happening, you'll look at the listing, you'll see several listings that have that toothpaste, that Crest toothpaste or something on it. And then you'll find in some cases, you may not be able to sell that brand may not allow you to sell that product. You have to sort of get credentials, like sell a lot of products, and eventually you can actually have approval to sell that brand's products on Amazon. So there's some brand gating, what it's called, where you can't, not everyone can sell it. In some cases, no one can sell it. The only person who can sell it, the only seller that can sell that product is going to be like Nike, for instance. Like Nike doesn't want anyone else selling. So usually, with these products that where multiple sellers can sell it, what you'll find with a really good selling product, you might have 15, 20 sellers on that listing. Okay. So with eBay, I mean, using eBay as an example, you're going to have like 10, 20, 30 different listings, right? They're just all separate sellers selling it. Amazon's more like, no, that's a mess. We're going to have one main listing for this product. If you want to sell this product, you say, I want to sell this product. You basically, in a sense, jump on the listing is what I call it. You take this, you say, I want to sell that item. So you start selling on that listing. And the great thing about it is the listing's already built. All you basically do is add your product to that listing. Does that make sense? You're adding that listing to your account. And then whenever you ship the products in, Amazon knows that that's your product with your labels on it, and it's identified as, you. They know it's you.
You're pretty much just hitting the plus mark under that product instead of having to write a description, get pictures ready. Amazon's done all that work for you.
Exactly. And there's some pros there for sure. There's also some cons because it's hard to change things. You can price whatever you want to, but usually the buy box price is the price. Like when you go to say, hey, this price is $20. If you're at $30, you're probably not going to sell that very often or at all. So you have the price that's set dictates a lot of that. You can charge more if you want to. And I know Jim Cockrum, we talked about a lot, he talks about you can be higher than that price many times. And if you're closer to them, say I'm listed in Dallas, say, Jim, Ed, you go on there and you want to find a product I'm selling, someone else is higher priced or lower priced than me, but I'm closer to you, I might get the buy box for you. And you might pay $22 instead of $20 because it's further away. So there's some things there as well.
That's interesting. So because you've got it for sale and I'm the buyer and I'm close, they may not even show me the $20 price point. It may just show me the $22 price point.
Exactly. That's the one that pops up. You could dig in deeper and because sometimes it says prices may be lower for other listings or other sellers. It says that sometimes too. And you could click through and realize, oh, wow, it is cheaper. And that's something that Amazon,
sometimes I click through and it's like, it's cheaper because it's used product or something like that.
Yeah. That too, but sometimes you might not even realize it, and most people don't even realize that when they get a product, they're like, "Oh, I thought Amazon was selling this." It's like, no, there's third-party sellers, and so when you think about this a lot, you see Amazon sold by Amazon, shipped by Amazon, sold and shipped. That's a lot of listings, but for me, when I'm selling something, it's going to say sold by my brand name, shipped by Amazon. That's the way it usually works. So, that's FBA. That's sort of like, that's it. And I want to make sure that's clear. Like, this is what FBA is. This is what they bring to the table. There's a lot of value from that. I'm going to kind of go like why I like it. What's good about Amazon in general? What's good about selling on Amazon? But that's kind of FBA. FBA, the advantage also is people like Prime. You get that Prime label. When Amazon's shipping for you, they love that Prime label because people, a lot of times, they just do a little filter and say, I only want to see FBA products. Why? Because it ships really quickly. That's the whole idea. And it used to be 2 days shipping. In some cases, it's not 2 days anymore. And sometimes it's even faster. You can actually get it in 1 day sometimes. It just depends on the item, right? But in general, you're going to get a lot faster shipping. And Amazon's going to be taking care of the shipping, which is good. Amazon is reputable. So when you see a third party that's actually doing the merchant fulfill, it can be a little bit of it might take a week sometimes to get it. So that's a little bit of a risk when you order from some merchant fulfill. And I've seen some ratings of some of these sellers, they're like 20%. I mean, as far as their performance, their actual feedback score, which is terrible. I don't know why they're probably on thin ice with Amazon. I have no idea why they're still there, but it can be a risk at times.
Okay, I got you.
You have a question? Another question?
Yeah. So if people are out there, our podcast audience is thinking about getting into the FBA business, like, where can they start? What's the easiest path into this? You've been doing this for over 9 years. If you were starting from scratch, you're me. You've never done it. You don't know much about it. You just know that your buddy's got success in it. You heard Andrew's got success in it in the podcast, and you say, hey, if Andrew can do it, I can certainly do it. But all kidding aside, Andrew, what would you do if you knew nothing about the program how would you get started today?
Yeah, let me, how about put that on the back burner here? Because what I want to do is I want to start with all the different methods. And I'm going to circle back and say, this is where you should start, right? Because I think it's important to go through the gambit of
Okay.
all the different scenarios. But that's a great question. And I will answer that question because it's pretty critical. And I have to think about that as well, because if I were to say, if Jim, if you're getting started today, I would not tell you to do what I'm doing right now. I would definitely not tell you to do that. Even though it's the best way to do it, I wouldn't tell you to do that because it takes a while to get to where I am. Not to say I'm so amazing, but it's like, no, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've sort of gotten to that point where this is the best model for me. Okay, so
Mhm.
let me kind of go through some of the different things here, and just bear with me here, just kind of going through these different methods, and hopefully it makes sense. All right.
Okay.
So, but first, before we get into the methods, like, why do I like Amazon? I like the resell, the FBA. It's scalable, right? Because when I lost my job, I had 30, 40 products I was selling. And then from June to September, I got to 103 products that I was selling. So with, I mean, if you want
Wow.
to compare it to Amazon
A lot.
Influencer, you could do the same thing with Amazon Influencer. But the thing about Amazon was when I sold those 103 products, that's 103 products actually sold. I sold 103 products. It wasn't like I had them listed. All 103, there was 103 sold in September. So I was able to really identify and say, I think these are going to be good products. If you do a good enough job sourcing these products, you will have a really high hit rate in selling the products. You can almost be guaranteed to get a sale if your price is right. And if the price is right and you identify a product it's selling very well, you can almost guarantee you're going to make sales. That's the beautiful thing about Amazon. You really can. So I like it for that reason. And then if you do it right, it's not that risky. You start really small. Like even my toothpaste example. Like, hey, this toothpaste is selling. I will make a profit. Great. You buy 5 tubes of the toothpaste. You ship it in. If it doesn't sell, oh, you're out $10, right? You're out $10 in a little bit of time, but you're not losing thousands of dollars. And this is this I don't know who coined this, but this is what Jim Cochran says a lot also. It's the inch deep, mile wide, which means you do a lot of different products, right? But you're just going a couple deep at first. Let's test with 5, let's test with 10. If I'm successful with it, then I'll scale out to more. Does that make sense? So you start with small
Sure.
amounts and you go across a lot of different products. You're just sort of just toeing the water, testing a lot of products, and the ones that sell, and you make some money, you sell more of those things. That's what's really cool about Amazon. It's really low risk. It can be very scalable, and there's a lot of different ways to be successful with it as well. Yeah. Okay, so
Awesome.
let's go through some of the methods. The method I think you hear a lot on the YouTubers, and this is probably back the traditional place that people talk about is doing private label. So and this is probably talked about less now than it was before, than it was probably 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And it's called private label, to where you would get, perfect example of this is I have this bottle here. This is a Yeti bottle, but you might say, I'm going to sell a knockoff of this, and it's whatever. It's my own brand. I'm gonna have my own brand. It's going to be called whatever, Andrew's, Andrew's bottle, whatever. That's a bad name for a brand. But you get that, order it from China, or get your hands on something pretty cheap, and you bring that to Amazon. You do the listing. You come up with all the pricing, titles, everything, descriptions. You make big orders overseas. You get that product. You put the branding on it. Hopefully that company will do it for you. You get it over here. You ship it to Amazon, and then you hope for the best. You hope you can actually get it ranked, as in, you hope that people will start buying it. You need to do some advertising in most cases to get it selling. And the risk with that is you might spend $2, $3, $4,000 just to get started, because you want to get those price breaks, right? You want to be able to get a good cost. And they might say, if you're going to get $2 a bottle or $5 a bottle, you need to order 2 or 3,000. And so the classic thing that would happen, Jim talks about this a lot in his podcast, and it's the Silent Team podcast that we were on recently. It's, you end up eating that a lot. You eat that money because what happens is you don't sell those products as fast as you wanted to. And what happens is a lot of times too is someone comes up with something very similar to yours with just different brand name, and they're $5 cheaper than you. So your sales just die overnight. And your competition has a lot more reviews as well. So it's really hard to start with your own brand on Amazon. That's
Well,
what I'm
when you're
trying to
going
say.
to do your when you're doing your own brand, you're going to order 1,500 items, or more. You might order a whole container of those cups, thinking they're going to go gangbusters, and then there we are with $10,000 worth of inventory. Not a
Right.
great place to put it.
So you're ordering a lot to get the cost you need. No one knows about your brand. No one cares about your brand, and it's all about price. When you don't have a brand name, you have to compete on price for a while, and that's why it's very difficult. And that's why I would not recommend it. And I don't think anyone in my circle would ever recommend starting with private label. Now, if you're doing what I'm doing right now, and you can find, say you're doing some bundles. We'll talk about bundles more probably next podcast. But can you get some items inexpensively to use as a bundle for another? For you might be selling something like, I don't know what's a good example of something that you might be selling. Some candy, a bag of candy or something that's a national brand. Sell a great seller. You might get a nice bundle idea that you can source pretty inexpensively and put that into your bundle. Now that's where it's like that makes more sense. So it's not going to be your main product, but it's a way to get some inexpensive but complementary items to put in your bundle. I actually had another example for a bundle, but we'll talk about that more later. Okay, so that's one method I don't recommend. Now another method that I kind of started doing when I got was RA. It's called retail arbitrage, mostly hitting like clearance. Like these are on sale items or clearance items. You go to Walmart, you see the clearance shelf, you go, oh, look, this product, there's 10 of these. They're trying to clearance. I can actually make $5 each. You grab those products and you sell them. Now, a couple things with that is, number one, there's going to be other people there's going to be other Walmarts around that have the same exact products that are on clearance, right? Walmart's national. So guess what? In a lot of cases, they're all clearancing the same items. So you think you're making money until you send it to the warehouse and you realize, oh my gosh, what happened? The price dropped. Well, that's because like 30 people are doing the same thing you're doing. 50 people are doing the same thing you're doing.
And
So there you go.
you might be 3 days behind them, right?
You might be 3 days behind them. And that's one reason why people merchant fulfill sometimes, because they have that price, they know what they're getting it, and they go ahead and get that listing immediately. Here's the downside of FBA. I didn't mention this earlier, is you have to get the stuff together and ship it to the warehouse. It takes a little while to go there. Sometimes it's shipped to the warehouse. It's sitting on a loading dock probably for a week before they check it in. Meanwhile, if you're doing merchant fill, you're like, people have talked about this. You're in the clearance, you're in the checkout at Walmart, you're listing the item and you've already sold it before you get to your car. That happens. That's crazy. And then you go home and ship it. So, but that's, again, it's all, are you going to make money on this? That's the key. You can make money, and can you ship it in an inexpensive way? So the other thing about this is it's not scalable, because that clearance item, you know what clearance means, that's not going to be around that much anymore, right? Those items are no longer going to be in stock in most places. And that's why when they're clearance items, it's usually a new model's coming out, right? So that's
Not a season or something.
yeah, exactly. So that's RA and clearance. Now OA is online arbitrage. So you hear these phrases a lot. A lot of people on these Facebook groups that are Amazon related, they're like, people are like saying RA and OA, and people are like, what's RA? What's OA? RA, retail arbitrage. OA is online arbitrage. Now, what's online arbitrage? You just go on looking at websites online. Now, there's tools, a lot of tools out there that let you really quickly identify products that are available that you can make some money from. Tactical arbitrage is a very common one that people have used traditionally. Yes, sir.
So explain arbitrage. I mean, I kind of know what it means. I do know what it means, but you just kind of went over retail arbitrage through the clearance section and some of that, but kind of, you know, you're hitting these things, but kind of go in a little more detail. What's retail arbitrage? What's online arbitrage?
Yeah, I think the word arbitrage really means, and this is back to, the earliest days of commerce, right? Where you take something and you spend a certain amount of money on it, and then you deliver that to someone else and make profit from that. So it could be for a service. You provide a service, you make some money from that service. The person paying you for that service is happy with it. They pay you that money, and you are able to make some profit to be able to put food on the table, right? So when you have a product, the idea is you're acquiring that product cheaper than what you're selling it for. And I think arbitrage happens everywhere you go, right? When you're
Oh,
fixing a
absolutely.
car, right? It's service, it's product, But ultimately, every single company that stays in business obviously needs to make profit from this. So arbitrage is basically taking, I mean, you can look at the definition somewhere, but it's basically in simple terms, that's what it is. So retail arbitrage just means you go into a retail store. You're going into a store, physically walking into a Walmart, going to the shelf, finding this toothpaste here, saying, yes, I'm going to buy this product. I'm going to resell it on Amazon. That's retail. Online is basically, I'm just going to source it online. So you could be sourcing it on walmart.com also, right? That's arbitrage. But there's also places that are pure play. They're pure online retailers, right? There's no physical store, right? So there's a lot of these stores out there, and that's the thing you get tricky. There's some sketchy online, there's some websites out there that I would not recommend you buy from. So if you're going to buy from anywhere, you better make sure that it's reputable. Let me think about what's a good example of a place that's only online, that's not a traditional store. There's probably fewer of those out there now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Amazon.com is an example, but it's normally not a good idea to buy from Amazon, resell on Amazon, although some people do that. I'm trying to think, but
Boy, I can't think of anything either.
the way I define it is there are a lot of them. There are definitely some stores out there that are not physical, but the way I look at it, it's just it's just the method of getting it. You're going to the website versus going to a physical store. That's the key. And the thing about this is there's tools that will let you do that research a lot faster because you're online, right? Some people hate going to a store. They don't want to go to a store and do research. They want to go online and do research. So that's one of the benefits of OA.
So I looked it up. A couple of stores, of course, Amazon hits the list. Etsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Etsy is. A lot of the ones they mention on here also do have that are not online only. Wayfair. So
Yeah. None of those are really good ones for Amazon, but I'll tell you what, some of the places I'm sourcing product from, one of those is not a physical store. I want to give away the store I'm shopping at. It's only online. The other one, the products that I'm buying from the website are not available in the store. They're only available online. So that's another thing about that. It's a store that everyone's heard of, but they just so happen to have a certain product I'm buying that's not available in the store, at least the SKUs that I'm buying. Okay, so that's a big thing. Okay, so have I done all of these? Yeah, I haven't done private label. I've done RA and clearance. I've done OA, and I've even done I guess RA would probably just be going to a thrift store and buying books. As far as products I've sold, books for sure. I started with books. You go into thrift stores, you go to garage sales, do all that, and then the next thing I was doing a lot of was going to a discount electronics store and doing that, getting some really good deals doing that for a while. None of those things are very scalable, unfortunately, unless you're a really, really big bookseller. There's booksellers who basically buy in bulk. They buy these big, huge pallets of books. It's a grind right there, but you can make some money. But now I would say do not, if you're asking where should you start, do not start with books. Books is not where it used to be at all.
yeah.
Yeah. Wholesale is basically, and you know about wholesale for sure, right? I mean, it's like wholesale is where you basically go directly from to a manufacturer or a distributor. So you take these products and say, and in some cases, you never even heard of these things. I remember there's called, is it soft knees? Okay, soft knees knee pads. Never even heard of soft knees before, but was selling that for a while. I don't do this anymore. But these you just look and say, hey, these knee pads are selling like crazy. Let me sell. Most people haven't really heard of the brand before, but you contact them. You say, I want to sell your product. Usually they kind of run you through the ringer a little bit though, because most of these companies, they, in the old, say 10 years ago, they hadn't seen a lot of this, but now they've had 1 million Amazon sellers already contact them. Most of these guys are very leery of Amazon sellers because they already have enough of them. It's a headache. And the way that Amazon works is they don't really need more than 2 or 3 sellers to sell their stuff. They don't need 10 sellers, right? Because it erodes the prices and it's just a pain for paperwork, all that kind of crap. So that's one thing where I was doing that for a while. I did get some relationships, and the big thing with wholesale is you need to be able to sell yourself and have a relationship with the company and show that you can add value above just selling their stuff. That is where you can really add value. You can help them to do something better, like whether it's improving their listing or making it easier for them or something like that. But it's a tough model, to be honest with you. It's a tough model. That's why I'm not doing it anymore. and the margins are pretty low as well. More of a volume approach. And some of the things I'm doing right now, though, Jim Ed, can really open up opportunities to be able to move the needle a little bit. If you do some bundles, for instance, they might be excited to say, I don't want to just sell your product. I want to bundle it with my own proprietary item. They're like, oh, tell me more. Because then you're actually able to sort of change up what other sellers are bringing to the table. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
It does.
Yeah, so we're gonna go through two more main, and these are kind of hybrids, but replens is what Jim Cochran teaches. Okay, so our buddy Jimmy Smith, we've mentioned him probably in the podcast before. He's the one who teaches that replens course. I think it's mostly just him teaching it, and it's been revolutionary for the pack community, for a lot of different sellers, and a lot of sellers have been able to scale to like over $100,000 very, very quickly using the replens model. And so what is replens? It's basically replenishables, right? It's finding not items on sale necessarily. They're finding everyday items at local retailers, online or in physical, that are selling really well on Amazon. And so what do I mean by that? Well, there are a lot of listings on Amazon, say a 2 or 3 pack, where you might say this toothpaste, for instance, the toothpaste, if you buy this toothpaste and say, I'm gonna buy it for $2, I'm gonna sell it on Amazon, you're gonna look and say, I can't make any money on this. Amazon's selling it for $5. But you might find, wait a second, this same dress, I think Crest you can't sell. Let's just say Colgate.
Okay.
The same Colgate toothpaste, a 3-pack is actually selling for $15. Oh, I actually can make some money with the 3-pack. So it's underserved listings is the way Jim, I don't take credit for these things, Jim Cochran refers to it as underserved listings, where there's just these listings out there. They don't sell as well as the primary, like the 1-pack, but they're still selling. So you might be on one of these listings, instead of having 30 sellers on here, you might be 5 sellers, and you're actually making some money on this. It doesn't sell as quickly, but you're going to make your 5 or 10 sales a month from this 3-pack of toothpaste. That makes sense? That's replenishables in a nutshell. And what you're doing is, instead of actually going to a store and just scanning barcodes, you're looking and saying, I see Colgate toothpaste, 8 ounces. Let me type this into Amazon and see what shows up. That's how you start. It's not barcode. You're not scanning the old school method. You're just typing in keywords like Colgate toothpaste. And then you're typing in, if it's a product like, I don't know, whatever it is, a bottle, blue bottle, 10-ounce bottle. If it's makeup or lipstick or whatever, you're just typing in what that item is, and then you start seeing maybe a brand name with how many ounces, and you're actually seeing, wow, look at all these listings that showed up. I want to sell on this listing. I can actually make money on this. The app tells you, right? The app tells you if you're going to make money or not. So and then so you're looking for multi-pack underserved listings where there's not too many sellers, where you can actually make some money, and you'll go through a lot of ASINs to find. When I say ASIN is kind of the UPC version. Like that's Amazon use ASIN for every single product they sell has an ASIN. That's their identifier, basically. It's a unique identifier that Amazon uses. So you're going to go through a lot of products to find the winners. I call it turn and burn, right? It's a good model, but when we were talking with one of our friends in our influencer group, she had 3,000 ASINs that she's tested. And there's probably, I think she said 500 of them were active, which means 2,500 of them are pretty much at least temporarily dead, as far as like she's not selling them anymore. And why does that happen? Because sometimes there's a race to the bottom to where there's too many sellers and the price goes down to the point it's not profitable anymore. Sometimes it's just not available anymore, right? But a lot of times it's just because there's too many people jumped on the listing and it's no longer profitable anymore. That's what happens a lot. So you have to be willing. You ask me what's the best way to get started? It is getting started doing this, getting the reps in there. But you're going to have to go through a lot of products, and you're going to find that this might work for a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe even longer. But then what's going to happen inevitably, most likely, a lot of those will just kind of go down, and then you just replace them with new products. So you can really scale very, very quickly with these products. I was doing that for a while. Similar methods to this, and now I've sort of migrated over to, or whatever, graduated to doing that next level up. And we'll stop at this one. And we'll talk a lot more about this next week. But what I'm doing exclusively now, Jim Ed, is bundles. So what bundles are basically, you might be taking these items like some toothpaste, for instance, or some common items. You're taking that item that sells really well and you're bundling that with something that's unique to you, your own brand. So it could be the simple things are like a magnet or a sticker, which I don't recommend anymore. But let me think of a good example. Here's a traditional bundle that could work really well. Say it's a pickleball. It's a pickleball bundle. It's going to come with a pickleball paddle, some pickleballs, a net, and then a little hat. Right? It's a pickleball hat, which actually is not a bad idea, actually. And what you could do here is you could say, okay, these 3 products, the pickleball paddles, the balls, and the net are all big brands. They're all big brands. They're selling really well. Not my brand. They're just selling really well. The cap is going to be my own little, I'm a pickleball pro or something. Do a little like your own little hat. It's my own little version with the brand could just be what my brand name is. You bundle that hat with the rest of that, and that's my own. So if my brand is called whatever, I love your son's when he had an Amazon account briefly, Jim Ed, the right price. And so if you have, the WRIGHT price,
which is his last name for
which is his
everybody that
last name.
don't.
You don't
Yeah,
you don't use your last name, do you, very often?
I don't have to. Everybody knows who Jim is. Yeah. So.
Yeah, so you might say this is the right price hat or something. And again, the seller name and the brand are 2 different things. That could be different. So it could just be whatever you want it to call. It could be like whatever, the best pickleball hat, or I'm trying to think of another brand names. You use your brand name, you put that in the hat, that's your bundle. Now you could also, that's a good bundle. So the key is you take, which is cool about bundles is you could do your own 3, they're all your own source products that aren't even national brands. But what I find is it's a lot easier if you're doing bundles, start with the replenishables, those things that are selling already very well, that have a brand presence, and you're bundling that with an item that you can source that you can put your name on. Does that make sense, Jim Ed?
Absolutely. So you mentioned like where to start as a brand new noob on this thing, wanting to get into FBA. Any other tips for somebody that's just wanting to get started?
Yeah, I would say to get started, I think that the main thing is know your numbers for sure. So you need to go in there and realize you need to use the Amazon seller app and put those items in there, see how much it's selling for on Amazon, see how much you're sourcing it for. The app lets you actually put in the prices. You can say, hey, I'll make this much money on it. Generally speaking, 30% ROI, return on investment, is what I like. So that basically means the profit over the cost. Okay, so if you source it for $10 and you can make $5 profit, you're making 50% ROI. Profit margin is what I'd probably look at even more. And that's basically saying, what's my profit over how much I sold it for? If you sell something for $20, you make $5 profit, 5 divided by 20, that's going to be 25% margin, profit margin. Make sense?
Sure, man. So cool. So people would be ready to go right after that, huh? Just kind of make sure you know your numbers, get started.
That's just the beginning. So know your numbers, right?
Right.
Before you ever make that, you make your money when you buy the product, right? You make your money when you buy the product. Right? That's you make or lose money, right? So you make sure you make a good decision. Also, the product needs to be selling pretty well too. There's things around that. Keepa is another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but Keepa lets you see historical trends as far as how well that item's been selling. That's the key. That's the thing we haven't talked about a lot, but pricing is very important. But if an item is not selling very well or at all, you don't want to sell it, right? So Keepa allows you to say, oh, this item sold 5 times this week, this month, 10 times, 20 times. So those, if you're going to have one app, it's the seller app. But the second app you should have is going to be Keepa, Keepa. We'll have that in the show notes as well. Those 2, and there's a free version of it that you can kind of get some decent stuff done. But I'd recommend if you're doing this a lot to get the paid version for sure. It's pretty affordable. Okay, so then know your numbers, and that includes the pricing and also includes how well that product is selling. Okay, and then I would say, and then don't buy too much of something when you're testing it. Buy just a few units of it, see how it goes, and go from there. So yeah, you could literally get started today, get your Amazon account going, find some products. This person I've actually been talking with a little bit, she's been doing some Amazon stuff, and she is just got started with the replenishable. the replens model, and she's already identified like 15 products to sell. So it doesn't take very long to get going on that. So I think it's a great place to start. Where I am now is 100% on bundles. That's sort of the next level, but I'd say don't go straight to bundles. I'd say the first thing you want to do is go to replens. There's a lot of opportunities there to get started, and you can make some money and really have some fun and get comfortable with how it all works. Next week, what we'll talk about, and again, I'd like to have some comments and feedback on this podcast. If you have any questions about anything I said today, but next week I want to go a little bit more of a deep dive on the bundle model. That's what I'm doing right now. We can kind of wrap that up a little bit, and we'll kind of just clean up some other questions that I didn't answer on today's podcast.
And of course, we'll go over some Amazon influencer thoughts as well as our numbers, things like that. One last question for you, Andrew. We'll wrap this thing up. So let's say you're me and you've got a little bit of money. I'm making a little bit of money on Amazon influencer, made $5,000. It's going to be coming to me here soon. So I had $5,000 to kick this thing off. I really want to get started on FBA, and I've got a little bit of money behind me. What would you do in that situation? What would be my quickest way to catch up with what you're doing?
Some test buys, maybe go out there and buy 5 or 10. Start with 5 or 10 and test it with it. You don't have to spend that much money. Maybe spend a couple $100. But there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of dots to connect. So we're just doing a couple quick podcasts. If you really want to understand all about this, it's Proven Amazon course, man. You can't go wrong with that. That's where I learned. That's where I kind of get my reps in. The podcast is awesome. It's kind of like with our course, right? We're talking about Amazon influencer a lot, and there's a lot of podcasts you can go through for sure for free, but you go on there and get some intensive learning all in one place. Man, PAC has a ton of modules. $39 a month is all it costs you can test it out. And when you actually subscribe to it, you have access to all of these courses. There are a ton of modules in there, RA, OA, whatever, online. There's just a ton of stuff in there. And we have to talk about our course a little bit, right? Our course is coming out in a couple of weeks. Actually, it's going to be for sale next week, right? The 9th.
Hey, one thing, Stacy on our Facebook page asked, and I know you replied to her on it, but she was kind of like, man, $600 for the course, that's a little more than what she could fork out. I totally get that. And I believe your answer to the question is, how can we get a discount on it? If you're a PAC member at $39 a month, then the course only costs what is it?
It's $150.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, goodness, go ahead and check out all of their additional resources, especially if you're interested in FBA. But, if you're just interested in the Amazon influencer, we're going to be doing the classes for about 2 months, one class a week. There may be a bonus class in there. We're not sure yet, but something along those lines, depending on what the demand is. But you're going to get access to us on the full class for only $150 if you join the course. So that might be a wise move. Andrew, is that a course that you can just kind of cancel at any time, or how's that work?
The PAC?
Yeah, the PAC, $39 a month.
Yeah, get it for
you lose access to it, but
you'll lose access to it. So, but again, it's like, I'm not trying to tell you how to game the system or anything, but you'll enjoy it. But if theoretically, if you just want to join and you get the course, then you don't have to continue if you don't want to. And I was talking to someone else about 150. I said, yeah, it could be expensive for some. And the person I was talking to said, that's not much money to invest in something like that, because especially I paid for a course that's not even close to this, which whet my appetite, right? It was just a basic PDF with maybe 20, 25 pages. It was well done at the time. That was $97. It told me what I needed to do to get started with Amazon Influencer, but this is a freaking deep dive, and with a community, with Q&A, everything. This is going to be a lot more training, certainly in a short period of time than this other person has done. Nothing about what he's doing. He's doing a lot of other things that are beyond the scope of Amazon Influencer. But for Amazon Influencer specifically, I don't know of a better course out there. I'm not trying to boast, but I'm saying this is going to be a really solid course with lots of training and a lot of assistance from Jim Ed and myself. And
I'll tell you,
community.
Yeah. And what?
And the community of people in this Facebook.
Community is huge in all this. It's worth the $150 to be involved in the community.
How long did
But
it take you to make 100? Go ahead. Finish your thought, and I was going to say something else about this.
yeah, so I stumbled around as you did when we first started. You got me into this shortly after you got into it. We stumbled around and figured some stuff out. But it's
Yeah.
like, my gosh, had we had a roadmap to this, how much faster could we have scaled up? And look,
Yeah,
we had the ladies on here on the this or that program, and they charged $97 for their course. It was a really quick and small course. I would have given anything to have paid $100 for that course when it first come out, had I
Mhm.
known, because I
Yeah.
made a whopping $300 on the this or that program. Had I spent $100 on it, I could have easily maxed that program out for $12,500.
Yeah, exactly.
So I missed out on, even minus the cost of the course, a little bit of work, and about $12,200 is what it cost me, not knowing that was out there. So,
Yeah.
not promising you if you take our course, you're going to make an extra $12,000 next year in 2024. But there's a great chance that you will if you work the course, if you do the work and follow the roadmap.
Yeah, exactly. And I was thinking about this too. It's like, how long did it take? You didn't even buy the course. I pretty much told you this is what I've learned, right? This is what
Yeah,
I've
we talk
learned.
every day. You walk me through everything you learned.
And you already had some good instincts, obviously, also. But so if someone without buying anything kind of just fake their way through it, say, "Oh, I've got Instagram, I've got this or that, I got a lot of followers, do your 3 videos." You could there's some people out there that could kind of get in, but it's not just getting in what we talk about, right? Getting in is a huge part of this. But there's a lot of people who are bumping their head against James Brown, for instance. He's still trying to get in. We were helping him, but I do believe Jim Ed the second time or his third time he's going to get in because hopefully I'm very optimistic. But guess what? If he doesn't get in this first time, there's still other social media accounts you can get. My point is this: there's people out there who kind of get in without any assistance at all. Great, but it's going to be the hard way. And if you listen to the training, I'm just thinking about this for a second here. How long would it take? How long did it take you to make $150 with Amazon Influencer?
I made $259 the first month.
Exactly. So is
Yeah.
that everyone's going to do that? No.
Oh
So
yeah, you're making
apply
even on your bad months, you're making an expensive car payment worth of money.
even on a really bad. I mean, we've already talked about our numbers here. Even a very bad 7-day period, $65. I've made half of that on a pretty bad last 7 days. And by next week, I will have paid $150 pretty much. So it's like, guys, if you apply this, I would be absolutely shocked if you don't make a couple $100 after a few months doing this if you apply yourself. So it's like,
Hey,
to me, it's
the
yeah,
best investment you can always make is an education into yourself.
right. Yeah.
That's
Investing,
so
investing.
you're investing in yourself. There's an obvious way to make a lot of money in front of you. And do you want to, if you spend the $150 and if you learn 3 things from the course, it's going to help you make that $150 back probably tenfold. So
Exactly. No, good stuff,
yeah.
man. We're really excited, and yeah, and I think the Amazon FBA along with Amazon Influencer, they're very complementary. That's why we're doing this with this pack community. It makes a lot of sense. You're seeing a lot of products. You're learning the ecosystem, and the more you know about this space, it's a good place to be. The more money you're going to make, and it's always good to have multiple streams of income for sure. That's why I want to have a good 3 or 4 solid income streams. At the end of 2024, I want to be able to have 4 making multiple $1,000s a month. That's what I'm shooting for. Amazon FBA, continue where it's doing. Amazon Influencer, I want to be able to make multiple $1,000s there. And there's a couple of other things that I want to get geared up. So to me, it's like, why wouldn't you want to have multiple things?
Well, hey guys, thanks for everything. Check the show notes. Join the Facebook group. The Facebook group is Side Hustle Heroes HQ. And also check the show notes if you do want to join our class. It is dropping this month. So now's the time to go ahead and get all that figured out, figure out a way where you don't have to pay the $600, figure out a way to do it for the $150. It's not that hard. And we look forward to seeing you on the class, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Awesome, man. Have a good night.
See ya.